Again with Chris Stevenson. How you doing, Chris?
How's it going, Pat?
This is part 2 of a look at the Obama administration in the first 2 years, and we're talking about President Obama and some of the hidden accomplishments, because the media just doesn't talk about these things.
No.
We're talking about a tremendous influence that he has had on the course of events since he's taken office. Am I right?
That's true. Very true.
What about the accomplishments? More than 90 pieces of legislation passed.
Yeah, Obama is a legislative workhorse. That's what I've noticed about him. You know, and this really is a continuation of Obama when he was a state senator and U.S. senator, because even then, during that time period, he wrote like 780 bills, or co-wrote, okay, and 280 of them passed during those periods. So he comes in being president. He just continues basically what he starts.
Right.
He knows how to write the tough laws and gets, laws that you think would be a dream, would be fantasy to pass. You know, he passed a racial profiling law in Illinois.
Right.
He passed an anti-torture in jail law in Illinois. And you know how Illinois is the Chicago area. That's those guys there, conservative, strong police unions, strong construction unions. You know, a lot of we found out during the Harold Washington years, very anti-black, historically. He comes in and does this. So this is a very accomplished president, and one who rolls up his sleeves and gets right down to work.
And inherited 2 non-winnable wars. You're talking about the Bush administration is spending billions of dollars per month in 2 unwinnable wars and losing human life in wars that are now being compared to Vietnam on 2 different fronts, Iraq and Afghanistan. So he's had to deal with certain things, and there was an unreal policy prejudice there with these wars, because there was a media blackout of real events. Obama dealt with that immediately by passing legislation that media could then cover the fallen soldiers coming back at Dover Airport before the Bush administration blacked those out. You're starting to see real images of the war in which the Bush administration blacked out. They wanted you to see the Saddam statue falling and him landing on a cruise ship talking mission accomplished. If people have forgotten, that's almost 10 years ago.
That's right.
So,
and don't forget, we like you mentioned 2 wars. There's also 2 wars looming.
Right.
You have Korea, you have Iran.
Right.
Okay. What was that? North Korea? Or
North Korea?
North Korea. So think about that. These 2 elements here are a threat constantly.
And he just kicked Iran's behind without lifting one finger of an army, without firing one bullet, by the use of computer technology. He disabled the Iran nuclear machine and put them behind by 3 to 4 years without killing one person.
Right.
And that is a tremendous accomplishment in itself. Whereas the Bush administration, all you heard of was possible airstrikes against Iran if they continued with their nuclear program. The Obama administration used the technology that was available and spared human life. And that within itself is a great accomplishment.
That's very
Can you say the same for Iraq or Afghanistan? No. We've lost our best soldiers on the deserts of Afghanistan and Iraq, when there were other ways of doing
tens of thousands of their soldiers.
Yes.
And their citizens.
Absolutely.
You know.
What about his one of his accomplishments? We're looking at the list number 9, the transparency of government legislation, whereas you can go in and look at government. This is one of the accomplishments of the Obama administration. More than 90 pieces of legislation that he's passed. limits on White House aides working for lobbyists and the tenure in their administration. That's part of the corruptness of Washington, allowing people to use money to pass legislation to benefit their businesses, such as Halliburton and the Carlyle Group and others that have made billions of dollars off of war.
Right.
Why isn't this being told?
They don't want to. They don't want to recognize it. They don't want to acknowledge it. And you know, their thing is out of earshot, out of mind.
Right.
Okay. So that's what they're playing on nowadays.
One of the accomplishments of the Obama administration is phasing out unused weapons programs in which money was being poured into Halliburton, the Carlyle Group, weapons producers. We were purchasing items that are no longer being used by the military.
Yeah.
Huge legislation.
Well,
billions of dollars.
We really have enough already to blow the world up several times.
10 times over.
Yeah. And you know, conservatives have a problem with that. I don't know why. Okay. It's not like they make it sound like he's totally disarming us.
Right.
No. He's getting rid of the excess. Okay. The proposed F-22 and all that. We don't need all that stuff. All right. F-16 does the job perfectly. You know, that kicks behind anyway. So really, a lot of the more advanced stuff, that stuff is wonderful if you like war.
Right.
But let's divert some of this money into education and other needs.
What about the green technology advancement? Things that the Bush administration, which was oil based in his support system for his election bid, they seem to ignore green technologies, the use of electric cars, battery cells.
Ignored it. They stigmatized it.
Yes.
They slandered it. You know, they make it sound like you were some dope rolling hippie if you were into agricultural or green technology or anything related to the environment. You know, so they try to stigmatize that. You know, and what they were doing, when they do that, they just try to protect money for big business and corporate America, who are polluting our cities needlessly, and that was okay for the 60s and 70s, but something else has come along.
Exactly.
Let's move on to that.
Use of companies are now getting massive tax breaks for expanding green technologies.
Yeah.
You're about to see the stadium in Philadelphia is going to be totally self-driven. No outside energy sources other than wind energy will be driving Liberty Financial Field in Philadelphia next year. Also, you're seeing companies such as Cottonelle and Charmin are coming up with spoolless toilet paper rolls, in which they said that America used enough toilet paper rolls, the inside paper product that toilet paper goes around, to basically fill up all the buildings in New York City. America was using those per year. You're starting to see these technological advancements are all coming into fruition, which will save our environment, expand America's power base as far as technologies. This was all done by the administration that conservatives and Republicans and Tea Party activists are calling one of the worst administrations in history.
Exactly, you're right. Now, and just think about that. You know, the spoolless toilet paper roll. You can now take a dump without having to play basketball at the same time and chuck that thing into the nearby wastebasket, whatever. You know, you think about I make light of it. However, that's something that could have been done years ago. Right.
If you were given the tax breaks to develop that type of technology. Why would you do it when it's not going to benefit your company?
Exactly.
And these are things the Obama administration has opened up. Stem cell research. Research that will help people overcome certain diseases that were blocked by religious fundamentalists that funded the Bush administration are now being opened up under the Obama administration.
Right. What was their main impetus towards? What do they have to get stem cells?
A lot of the stem cells come from aborted fetuses.
Yeah.
And unless you outlaw abortion,
See, that's the thing.
It's either one or the other. I'm not a great supporter of abortion, but you have to outlaw abortion, not to use the stem cells for that type of research. Why not use them to try to help people?
You can save lives in the process.
Yes, absolutely. Embryonic cells. They were against use of embryonic cells that were taken from women. Why not use them? They said that they felt it was religious fundamentalism. Attack those things, and they have a right. You have a right to believe what you want to believe, but that technology was still out there and should have.
And people suffer paralysis and everything stand to benefit
exactly
greatly.
You remember Superman,
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, Christopher Reeves. He was a proponent of expanding the stem cell research laws, which were blocked under the Bush administration. Fuel efficiency standards per state. These are big things that the Bush administration, which was oil-based, did not want because their supporters produced oil and gasoline. These are the great accomplishments of the Obama administration, which I think continue to expand. Increase of infrastructure spending. That's what saved America. Is you have to rebuild the infrastructure. This is something Dwight David Eisenhower had to do. But why is it that they talk about so much that this is one of the worst administrations in American history?
Now, 19 and 20 is very important also.
Funds for high-speed broadband internet access from K to 12th grade. More funds for schools, more funds for charter schools, new funds for school construction. All of these things were put on the back burner for the warmongering Bush administration that basically got you involved in 2 unwinnable Vietnam-type wars that this administration had to phase you out of, and that's what you basically had to do.
And what Bush put in his place was that bogus No Child Left Behind, which left a lot of kids behind. Okay, so, this is very good.
His first and biggest project was to save America from economic depression. He passed a $789 billion infrastructure stimulus plan that basically saved this country from economic depression that was put on you by one of the worst economic administrations in history. 8 years of the Bush administration, which was centered around oil, war, and not on creating proper infrastructure projects. All he did was give tax breaks to the rich. And did nothing for the poor.
No, he didn't.
He destroyed the surplus. He came in with a over $500 billion surplus. He gave it back to everybody with a $250 check.
See, what's going on here is Bush, that's when the Tea Party should have formed. During the Bush administration.
They should have fought against the Bush administration.
They should have fought against the Bush administration. You didn't hear anything from Sarah Palin or none of these people, Michelle Bachmann, all these wacky people out here today. They weren't around. You'd hear none of them. You didn't know any of them during the Bush administration. Carol Palladino wasn't saying nothing during the Bush administration. No complaints from any of them. Now they all hate Obama. They all love to criticize Obama. What's going on here is, it's a race thing, yes, but it's also they're basically saying they want to go backwards.
Absolutely.
In so doing. They're saying, they want to go back to those times when you could have all the kind of spending that Bush did, the wasteful spending, and did it with impunity. And I think they like that. I don't know why. None of them got anything out of it. Okay? But they seem to admire that because Bush's years were, the rich Republican doing what we want to do years. Okay? And, it was the... it was the hubris years of
one of the worst administrations in history. Environmentally, one of the worst. He allowed when you go to a one world economy and these G7 philosophy of economic growth around the country and around the world. You have to have world policies on greenhouse gas emissions. It was the Obama administration that went to the table and said, "Hey, everybody has got to start following these greenhouse gas emissions around the world or we're going to destroy our country." Antarctica was melting. Both of the North and South polar caps were melting. If it was not for the Obama administration to reinstitute these environment and conscious legislation procedures, we would still be going down a path of absolute destruction that the Bush administration, oil bandits, and neocons and the different people that wrecked this world over the last 8 years, we would really be in trouble. And basically, the bottom line, Chris, can't you say that, if in all honesty, this man saved America?
Yeah, that's the one thing they don't want to say. They don't want to hear them say that. They don't want to hear anybody say that. They don't want to be made to say that.
Right.
They fear that they will be forced to say that probably years after Obama's gone, after he's out of office.
When they speak, they speak about President Reagan in reverence.
Yes.
But if you compare him to Reagan, he's done more than Reagan did at this stage of his administration. He's met with more world leaders than any other president in history at this point in time. He has made America a more friendly face around the world when America was scourged upon for its lone war tactics against smaller countries. Yeah. That is the product of 8 years of President George Bush.
And that's why Obama had to apologize. He had to go around a lot of these countries and apologize to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only way. You know, Bush had the scorched earth policy, and he disrespected a lot of these countries. Okay. And even forced other countries that unwittingly went along with them, like England, other countries like that. So Obama has done a lot over his tenure.
Right.
And it's just his first term's not even over yet.
First term, and we're not even tapping into the more than 90 pieces of active legislation that has changed the course of events of this country and around the world. We're only tapping into just a smidgen of the accomplishments of President Barack Obama. And unfortunately, Chris, as you stated before, a lot of the criticism of him as a person and as a president is unfortunately race-based. And it shows that this country has not matured enough to overcome some of its discrepancies that haunted this country its first 200 years of existence.
So you can't mature if you don't face something. That's with anything. That's with kids or anything. You know, okay? You don't teach your daughter to stop stealing from the cookie jar today.
Yes.
What's she going to steal when she's 25?
Absolutely.
That's the whole thing. So that's how you get people into maturity. It's a process, and this country has never accepted that process.
No.
You know, so we still have these problems.
Well, we've reached our conclusion of this week's network, Chris. We hit on some interesting areas. Before we go, I know that you have written a lot on the negative activity of many of the neocons and conservatives. Michelle Bachmann, Sarah Palin, Rush Limbaugh's. Where do you think they go from here? Do you think America begins to, as we know, the policies of the Obama administration are beginning to heal this nation economically? Is there going to eventually be a backlash against these Tea Partiers and conservative extremists?
You coming from the left, you think? Are you saying,
well, the people in the middle, the independents. I think the independents that have gone along with them. I think we'll go back to Obama and the centrist Democrats, and I think I'm asking you: do you think there's going to be a backlash against the negativism of the Sarah Palins or the Bachmans? Are they going to be, like you said earlier? Do you think there is going to eventually call for muzzling them because they hurt the whole content of the entire party when you're so negative against a person that is beginning to achieve the things that he's quietly achieved?
There's going to have to be some level of backlash. It's impossible for there not to be. You know, it comes a time when you have to stop and tell yourself, I'm spinning my wheels here. Nothing's going on, and this ridiculous behavior has to stop. When it comes to the Sarah Palins and Michelle Bachmans and people like this. I think it's going to be the backlash to them is going to be more or less being shunned by the Republican Party in time, and if the Republican Party doesn't officially tell them, you know, we got somebody else in mind, we don't need you right now, they will show her through what they do, through who they elect, through who they nominate.
Right.
You know, I do believe that they are going to...
They could lose power again in 2012.
Yes.
They gained it back in 2010.
Right.
But the backlash might come in 2012.
Yeah, the backlash in 2012. And here's the thing. it's the president. It's not just the presidential election in 2012. What else is going to happen? Congressional, right? So there's a lot weighing there. They have to make some. They know they have to make some wise and smart moves, and in order to do that, they're going to have to swallow some pride.
Absolutely,
it's going to hurt them. Okay, the angry white male is back, but he's going to have to become the smart and compromising white male.
As America becomes more educated on the accomplishments of healthcare, and we need to make a statement on that. Obama's the 44th president. They've been trying to deal with healthcare since the 14th president, Franklin Pierce. He was the first one in over 30 presidents that was able to deal with this issue and cover more than 34 million people that did not have health care. Republicans are trying to repeal that with their gaining of the Congress. I think that as America becomes more educated, knowing that universal health care already exists, it's just who's paying for it.
Right.
I think there will be a backlash on that.
That's a very key statement you just made. First of all, just the attempts to repeal the health care. Here, this is what you did. This is what they're saying. We know this is not going to pass, but we're going to spend time and effort into doing this anyway. Okay, so there's going to be a backlash based on that.
Right.
Okay, that's a waste of time. Who has to sign? Who has to be the final one to sign off on that bill?
The president.
Why is he going to sign away something he worked hard to get?
He's going to veto it.
Him, the Rahm Emanuel, and his former
Nancy
Pelosi. He's just going to wipe all that away just to make them. No, he's not going to do that.
He's going to veto it.
Yeah, he told them during the State of the Union, if you have a better idea about some of these things, I'm listening. But if not, forget about it.
Right, exactly. They don't have a better idea.
They don't have it.
If they did, it would have been part of the debate when this was passed.
Exactly.
But they don't. It just seems to me that they're going to fight a battle that might get them out of office in 2012, and the power comes back to the Democratic Party.
And that's good. From one standpoint, I'm happy about that. I'm just amazed at how stupid they're being and how stubborn they are.
Very stubborn. Very stupid. Very stubborn.
Yeah.
And if the Republican Party does not get itself together, they've already made a big change in getting rid of Michael Steele.
Mm-hmm.
They
never liked Steele anyway.
No, that was just an answer to Obama. He basically became a conservative with blackface.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it bluntly and simply, he was a conservative with blackface.
That's right. If they're smart, I'm going to be honest with you. If they're smart, they'll go. Listen, GOP. Listen closely. You go after Condoleezza or Colin Powell. That's the best you had. Dick Cheney's too old. Dick Cheney would be a good choice, but he's old and he's sickly. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They want a victory where they want white male, white conservative male. Only then will they feel good about beating Obama. It's not going to happen. It can't happen anymore.
Right.
They can't. That cannot happen anymore. We're looking at a time period where things are changing from a racial standpoint. You know, it's just the way it is. I'm not being a racist when I say it. It's just the way it is.
Right.
So they're going to have to face some things and make some like that. That's why I alluded to before, compromise. They're going to have to compromise. They're not just going to get everything the way they want it, like they did during the Bush administration.
Bush administration, when people finally regard his administration in a truthful sense, I believe he will be regarded as one of the worst presidents in human history.
Yes.
One of the worst world leaders in human history. Just an absolute disaster. Is he a nice guy? Is he the kind of guy you probably like to go to the ball game with? Probably so. But we shouldn't have elected him president.
No.
That's the bottom line. Hey, that's all for us here on the network. I want to thank Chris Stevenson, and I'm Pat Freeman. We'll see you next week again on the network.